Okay, going to take you through our newspapers today. We're joined by Kriss Akabusi and Nichi Hodgson. And we're starting off with you, Kriss. You've chosen this story, the front of the Mirror, has to be said, front of most of the papers this morning, talking about the next few hours, this window of peace, as President Biden, Boris Johnson put it.
Yeah, and it's very vital. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's very vital that we understand we've got dialogue here and we're going to have dialogue at the end. We will discuss it in the end. Do we need 1 million body bags going between Ukraine and Russia? I would say no. But we do need to understand what Putin wants. And I was very interested in your segment where you had Sir Mark Lyle Grant, the ambassador to the UN, and he was very articulate quite clearly in some of the things that he might want. He's already getting the fact that he said that Putin is centre stage. He's an Asian... Can I say dictator? But an Asian,
yes, you can, yeah.
An Asian dictator who has got to think about his gallery, the Russian people. You can see that they're now centre stage. He's talking to USA. He's got China speaking with him. But I was really interested when he said that he basically what he felt was a non-negotiable was his demand that Ukraine does not get backed into NATO. And I think that's very much what he wants, and very much a legacy that he could have to his people. That I
think he'll get that.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised when the ambassador said no, he won't get it. Or did I misunderstand that?
Well, no, he corrected himself. The ambassador did come out and say, we don't want to, and then they changed their mind. They do still have ambitions to join NATO. It was confirmed by Zelensky yesterday.
Yes, so they have ambitions to join NATO, and you can understand the benefits for Ukraine. You can already see now we've got so much trade with them. A lot of the weaponry. I saw that Ukraine have got the Stinger missile from the USA. They've got anti-tank weapons from the Western world. So I can understand the benefits of being part of NATO, because clearly, if this war, God forbid that it happens, was to happen, you'll get 1 million refugees going into Poland. And if you get any sort of incendiary happenings in Poland, in Germany, then you've got problems. So I can understand why Ukraine would want...
We're not going to hear this, we're not going to see this, but we never see, Nicky, is what people on the ground in Russia think. I mean, if we did Vox Pops, you did polls, whatever, you say, this Ukraine business, are you really that worried? I would be fascinated to know. Well, does Putin speak in their name?
Absolutely. And also, would they tell the truth? Because, Putin has got a reputation for disappearing people that say things that he doesn't like. We have to say that. Normally it's journalists, normally it's politicos. But, an ordinary person who's got a really good insight could easily be in trouble after being on the news, Well, so to protect them, they don't want, we don't want them to speak actually in that way, just for their sake.
And Russian state TV's really ramped up its propaganda against Ukraine, saying that the Ukrainians are going to come up and string up your children on wires and making people really fearful of Ukraine.
The disinformation is quite spectacular. And it is very, very difficult to get to the truth of what Putin thinks and also what the Russians themselves think.
We just talked to Simon Fanshawe there about the power of difference and how it's a good thing and an interesting thing to have different opinions and value those and discuss those. Keir Starmer, Boris Johnson have different opinions, but you go to the Times here on page 12 and it's saying that Sir Keir has received death threats over Boris Johnson and those Savile comments.
Yeah, so let's just remember what happened. Boris Johnson said in Parliament that Sir Keir Starmer was responsible for not prosecuting Jimmy Savile. And that isn't true. It's just not true. And in fact, it's actually a right-wing conspiracy. It's very big on certain parts of the internet. And as a result of that, Sir Keir Starmer has received several death threats. He was forced to flee a mob of far-right activists and anti-vaxxers outside Parliament a couple of weeks ago. The reality is we have already had 2 MPs in the past few years murdered in terrible situations, and our MPs are not safe a lot of the time. They put themselves on the line, and it's becoming more dangerous to become an MP. It is scandalous that Boris Johnson did not think about the ramification of what he said on Sir Keir Starmer's safety. It's not about even the rights or the wrongs of it. It's thinking about how vulnerable he has now made him. And, he owes him a massive apology.
So, so a different tact. I'm not quite sure that he accused him of not prosecuting. My perspective was, he was saying, if the buck stops at my house with Partygate, then the buck stops at the top, then were you presiding over and does a buck stop at the top? And
He wasn't. The point was, Sir Keir Starmer wasn't the prosecutor at the time of the Jimmy Savile case.
No, but was he? But was he at the top?
He didn't. It was nothing. It was nothing to do. The timing was completely out.
Okay.
So that's the issue.
Okay, but okay, so that was like you've blown that one out of the water. But the next part was that look, the quality of our debates in the House has got to be elevated. I agree with you. You know, you've got Cox, you've got Amos.
Yep.
We don't need another tragedy. And it's when I was a soldier, there was one word that used to be at the top of our boats: loose lips cost lives. And what you've seen is Boris Johnson, a little bit of a scrapper, and he's just shot off from the lip and not really understood the consequences of that. So,
he's a Prime Minister. He's got
but Claire Rayner is a deputy, not deputy.
Angela Rayner.
Angela Rayner, thank you very much. But she's a deputy in her side, and she's also said all things. So look, we've got to clear it up. It's not him or the other. It's just the state of our discourse, rhetoric and discourse. We've got to elevate ourselves so that these things don't happen, because we do need a polity where you can go and have a surgery with your politician and him or her not be scared of their life.
Angela Rayner was called up, wasn't she, by the Speaker of the Commons, and she had to apologise, and the same was asked of the Prime Minister, which he refused to do. So Lindsay Hoyle did ask the Prime Minister to retract the statement, which he wouldn't do. But I accept your comment that there's been lots said outside of the Commons, certainly on both sides of the political divide, and you're right, that it's just they've got standards and language has got to be better.
But also, you are role models to young kids who want to get into politics. Do we really want this Yahoo bar, sort of? No, we don't want that sort of discourse. Let's have some intellectual, rational discourse.
It matters.
Now, I want you, Nikki, do you do any exercise?
I do, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, reluctantly. I love it when I get into it. I have to have a personal trainer because I'm so lazy, but I love doing heavy weights. And as a woman, when you can throw things around, you feel so empowered. And I absolutely adore it.
Well, you're not lazy. You mightn't be motivated.
I'm not motivated.
Maybe that's
it's
what
definitely carrot and stick with me.
It will stand by. It will keep you in good stead as you age. Chris, we go to the Mail.
Yeah.
Page 3 here, and this is something we're talking about in 20 minutes' time here on the programme. This is exercise in your 70s. Tell us why that is good. People who maybe have never exercised before, this could benefit them.
Yeah, precisely. So there was a study done in Italy. 3,000 people were done in the study, and they showed that people who... So it's about beginning to exercise. So I've exercised all my life. I still go and do 3-4 miles most days, right?
Do you?
Oh, gosh, absolutely.
And you just love it?
Oh, yeah, I just love it. The world's a different place.
But is there never that moment of like, oh, not today, or can't, or do you actually itch and start to feel weird if you don't?
No, you're right. Sometimes you get up and I don't fancy it, but let me tell you, when you go out the door and you're walking, you're a little bit limp, but then you start running and then the endorphins start flying around you. By the time when you come home, yes! Nailed it! You've got to know the study, but...
I think viewers watching who maybe have overexcitable dogs will appreciate you've got to basically tire them out.
Exercise.
Them out. And I think that explains what we've got.
But for this one here, for people who are not like me, who naturally want to go out... The Germans just call it Senioren gymnastics. So even in the 60s and 70s, or 70s, Senioren gymnastics. If you start in your 60s, it helps you in your 70s. Yeah. And I don't know why, but it's the men who get the best benefit by their mid-70s by starting exercises in their mid-60s. Yeah. And so, it could be gardening, cycling, walking. Bit of golf. I'm going to play golf after this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a bit of a hacker. They call me Akka the Hacker, but I'm out there doing it. So, but get active, even if it's throwing a ball between each other for 20 minutes. I love that in the newspaper, there's a little article where you've got a granny and she's flinging herself around a horse, and they're saying she needs a hypercelifex drink, not a cup of coffee.
So, see, what is good about that is they're not putting these old people in social care in front of a television and saying, now watch Murder, She Wrote for the next hour and a half or whatever. The idea that a certain form of exercise can seem acceptable, that they throw... what are they throwing?
The air balls, but even things like passing around this way and then passing it around that way.
Movement.
So it's movement. Okay, and that's what he said. There was a little bit here where he says, "Movement is medicine."
Yep.
Movement is medicine. I love that.
Amen to that.
As Liam Neeson told me, Eamon, motion is your lotion. Thank you very much. Thank you both
Thank
very much.
you.
It's
You've
lovely
cheered us
talking
up
to
on
you.
this.
Please come back again and
Yeah.
see us soon. What do you play off, incidentally?
Well, I'm 15 now, so I'm coming down. So I'm 15. Yes, I get myself around. I normally finish with a ball that I started, but every now and again, snap hook.
Yeah.
4.
Well, I suppose by 6 o'clock tonight, Mrs. Akabusi will have tired, will have calmed down, be ready to come home, fall asleep in his armchair. There you go. What a guy.